Welcome to Eye Level to High Level, where real talk meets real results. I'm Jimmy Rios, and each week we break down the mindset, money moves, and strategies you need to elevate your life and business. Let's level up. Hello, welcome to the Eye Level to High Level podcast, where real talk meets real results. I'm Jimmy Rios, and each week we're going to break down the mindset, money moves, and strategies you need to elevate your life and business. Let's level up. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I just wanted to be me and talk a little bit about what has gotten us to this point. Jimmy Rios is the owner and founder of Rios Business Advisors, and through this program, we developed a revolutionary program called the Eye Level to High Level program, and it's changing lives and revolutionizing how we think about lending, the burden of debt, investments, investment profits. All these are wrapped into our program, but we do more than that. And I wanted to just take some time to tell you a little bit about how this all began, because it's important to understand who I am as a person and why I became so passionate about bringing this to the masses. The program is called Eye Level to High Level because we really thought about putting a program that could help people in every walks of life, not just the people at the high level. We know that there's a lot of people that have money that can get more money, and it seems like that we are lacking those tools. And this is why 25 years ago, when I started working in corporate America, why I saw that there needed to be a change. Because when I started it was actually 1997, working for a finance company, I couldn't help the people that I wanted to help in the ways that I wanted to help. And that really fired me up, because even though I was making good money as a manager of this company, I felt that there had to be a better way to help individuals, and specifically with everything that has to do with finances. I don't think there's a book that's given to any one person when they become an adult that tells you how to manage your money, how to build your credit or manage your credit, how to go and buy a house and start putting your money to work for you so that you can eventually be able to live the life that you want. I think we've been indoctrinated and I guess maybe taught that you need to, work hard, put your money away, and that at some point, maybe 30 years down the road, or 40 or whatever that number is, that you'll be hopefully alive to be able to use that money to do something with. And I studied for 20 years this idea, and I said, no, I don't think that has to be it. What if I want to start living now? What if I want to start building a legacy for my children now? How can we do that? How can we put something together where we could still, be responsible adults and build our lives, but not be indoctrinated into a thought process that might not be the best? And what happened was I started working with individuals that needed money, and many of them would come into my office, and I would see them, months later, same problem, and it was great for the company. I mean, we were sending out these dollars, these checks that looked like real checks, and people would come in, I want to cash this check. And, they were for like $2,500, maybe $5,000. And, people would get this money, but they had no map or blueprint on how to use that money. I mean, it may be covered, it was a Band-Aid, and it might have covered a hole or a necessity at the moment, but it didn't solve their problems. And so I started seeing that, credit was an issue. I started seeing that, the ability to help these people was more than just giving them money. It was an education. And so I left corporate America. I started my own company at the age of 25, and everybody was telling me I was ridiculous. Why would you give up a very comfortable job to go do this and not really knowing what I was doing? And I didn't know what I was doing. I took a lot of bravado, and I wanted to just help people, and I made a lot of mistakes in the process. This is back before social media and the internet really took off, right? We're still in the early stages of that. So me helping an individual that would come into my office and say, I want to buy a house, I took that as a challenge that I was going to help them get into a house. But many times they didn't have all the things that were necessary to get into this house. They didn't have the credit, maybe they didn't have the monies, they didn't have, there's a lot of things that goes into underwriting and helping somebody get into a house. So I had to start doing other things. I had to get licensed in insurance. I started helping them with their taxes. I had to get my, at the time I didn't have to get my mortgage license, but I ended up getting my real estate license. I wanted to be knowledgeable in all fields so that I could, at the very least, give proper advice. And that was very important to me, because if I wanted to help them, I didn't want to be like many other places where if they got denied for a loan, they would just be sent off. And it was like, okay, thank you, bye. Nobody would tell them what they needed to do to come back to reapply. As I come back 6 months later. Well, that doesn't help. So we developed Next Level Credit. Next Level Credit is our credit division. My wife runs that company, and we focused on educating our clients on the sides of credit and how to build credit, how to manage your budget, how to start living the life you need with credit. And then we started looking at other facets of the business, right? And we started seeing that many individuals that were self-employed were having issues because they couldn't provide 2 years of income, because everything that they did with the money that was coming in was getting written off. So there was a lot of education in structuring their businesses properly so that they could, obviously start showing on paper what they were really making. But they were so scared of owing the IRS money because they were making good money, but they didn't want to show it. They didn't know strategies and ideas on how to set yourself up so you could win. What many people don't realize or understand is that if you have a business and you're not showing profit, and you start cutting that by, thinking that you're not going to owe the IRS or whatever, there's a price to pay for everything. And the value of your business gets chopped every time you do that, because the value of your business is based on the profit that your business makes. So we started teaching people how to properly structure their business and how to pay themselves. Now you pay yourself, now you've got money coming in. What are you going to do with that money, right? I mean, businesses fail in the first 5 years because they're improperly structured and they don't know or have a plan on how to grow their business. Many times they do what's called bootstrapping, where you have to basically pull up your boots and borrow money from friends, family, credit cards, wherever you can get it. And you go out, again, no plan is in place. You go out doing the best that you can as the service provider of whatever you service, whatever you do, right? Whatever trade you do. And you might do that very well, and you might get some clients that way. But eventually you got to put on the marketing hat and go and find more clients. And if you're busy working on 3 or 4 cars, when are you going to have time to market or run your, relationship management system, right? There's so many facets. Who's running your books? How do you manage that, right? Like, people commingle their funds because they didn't have a business account, because they didn't even have an EIN, an employee ID number, right? And so there's a lot of things that we look at. And so I developed a company called Rios Business Advisors. And inside of Rios Business Advisors, I don't do everything. I can't do everything, but I have advisors, or what I call subject matter experts, in every field that you could think of that encompasses business. And when you come to me and you say, well, Jimmy, I need money, right? That's the number one problem everybody has. And I'm going to ask you, well, what do you need money for? And you're going to tell me, well, I need to pay off debt, or, I need to buy a truck, right? I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, well, let's start building a blueprint for what you really need, because maybe that's what you think you need right now, but that might not be it, right? And what I mean by that is that there's ways to leverage, and there's good debt, and there's bad debt, right? There's productive debt and unproductive debt, right? And when I say productive debt is, if you're going to get into debt of any kind, you better have a plan in place to make that money that you got make money, right? Because you got to have a way to pay off that debt, right? And if you put all your eggs in one basket thinking your business is going to provide that, how are you going to pay for yourself and all the other things that go inside of your life if you don't have a way to make money outside of that? What if you go on vacation? Since you didn't have a system built, right, that can produce while you're gone, then you need a lot for that. You need to find ways to build income streams, and that's called building a system, right? But people don't know anything about systems because they're barely trying to understand how to manage their own business. And so I think we became very instrumental in bringing another facet to the table in helping people understand their business models and how they were being taxed and how they were handling some of those things. And many things that I say, people don't like to hear it because it's going to cost money, it's going to take work, right? There's going to be things that you're going to have to do that you don't know or you're not comfortable with. Listen, you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Learn that, because as you start working with me, we're going to put people in place that are going to start helping you get to where you need to go. But you need to be open-minded. If you're closed-minded and you're stuck in your ways, I'm going to tell you good luck, and I hope you find the answers, because that's what happened to me, and I thought I knew it all, and I didn't, and I lost. And in a lot of ways, I think I have more losses than I do success in business. But I've been doing this. I've been consistent over a long period of time in finding solutions and asking for help. And that's something that needs to be done. I think you need to look in the mirror whenever there's a problem. You need to assess what the problem is. Many times the problem is looking at it straight in the face. It's us, because we're not true to ourselves in talking about what the real problem is. Is it our spending? Are there things that we can do better? Maybe we need to delegate. Maybe we need to hire somebody, right? Maybe we need to do some marketing. Maybe we got to get our books in order and start looking at our finances for what they really are, right? If you don't have some of those things in place now with your business, and you're blaming others for problems that are happening in your business, like there are problems that can happen that are out of your control, right? A pandemic, tariffs, things that you can't control. But there's a lot of things you can control. And that's where you got to be real and ask for help. And talk to somebody like myself who's going to work with you. I always say, I'm your partner in progress. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find somebody who does have the answer. And we're going to work together to find a solution. Because you're going to have two choices. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it, right? Do or don't. But in the middle, there's no fear. The fear doesn't fit in that equation. You're going to have fear. You're always going to be a little apprehensive about something. But you got to start trusting yourself. You got to start trusting your mindset and thinking that I can do it and I will do it and I'm going to find the help to help me do it. And don't let money be your obstacle, because we tell people, come to us and let us help unload that burden of debt and worry, anxieties, and let us put together a plan to help you get to the next level. That's why I call it next level credit. Everything step by step, right? Work our way up that ladder so we can be at the top. And people, when they see my iceberg, they say, "Man, you've made it. You've done it." I said, "No, you're only seeing the tip of my iceberg. You haven't seen everything underneath, all the struggles and the late nights, and I mean, tons of things that somebody else would have just given up on." And I say, don't give up. I say, there's always a way. There's always a solution. You got to just think strong. You got to have faith. And I'm not a religious guy. I'm a very spiritual person, but there is a higher power that's stronger than us that can help us move mountains if we need to. We need to seek that higher power and help us move those mountains. Don't do it by yourself. Give us a call. Thanks for tuning in to the Eye Level to High Level program. If you're ready to rise above the average, subscribe, share, and follow us for more ways to take your grind to greatness. Until next time, keep pushing higher. Thanks for tuning in to Eye Level to High Level. If you're ready to rise above the average, subscribe, share, and follow us for more ways to take your grind to greatness. Until next time, keep pushing higher.